Heart Center community, who are we? The Heart Center is a dynamic worldwide movement of spiritual seekers, and I would say finders, joyously growing in personal self-mastery. Our mission is to offer the up-to-date minute, up-to-the-minute teachings and inspirations of the Ascended Masters through David Christopher Lewis, an anointed messenger of the Universal Great White Brotherhood and Sisterhood. A virtual community, we daily broadcast free prayer services, including meditations, devotional singings, the giving of mantras, personal sharings, and the teachings of the Ascended Masters. We gather in person at our local events, quarterly conferences, and annual pilgrimages to sacred sites around the world. Pretty fun vacations, I'd have to say. In the Heart Center community is quite a diverse group of individuals. As you can imagine, the beautiful souls that would be attracted to such a spiritual movement. The amazing, talented individuals that come to these quarterly conferences. I like to say it's the gathering of the eagles, as the Ascended Masters gather their initiates to come to these conferences to add their flavor, their perspective, as each master has their own initiates that they are tutoring. Some could be Mother Mary or Saint Germain, Jesus, Gautama Buddha, some of the other Buddhas, which are many. The Divine Director, Melchizedek, Kuthumi, El Morya, Paramahansa Yogananda, Lord Maitreya. There are thousands of Ascended Masters, and many we don't even know their names. And they all have ascended, and what that means is they have graduated from Earth, from the school ground called Earth that we are in, time and space in, to the permanent place of God realization in the ascended level. And they are still working with their students here on Earth. The Universal Brotherhood and Sisterhood of Light is an organization of Ascended Masters. And like in every city, state, and country, there is a God government, an organization, a hierarchy that oversees the development of Earth, of the astral plane, of the etheric plane, of the Buddhic plane, and levels of consciousness that we're not even aware of. There is a spiritual hierarchy. So there will be a conference in Mount Shasta coming up in 3 weeks. I'll pull it up here. July 26th and 29th. And if you've never been to Mount Shasta, the mountain itself is a living being. The energy that comes from the mountain of many ascended masters, many angels, many devas, many cosmic beings from the ancient land of Mu and the Lemurians. These ancient civilizations still have their retreats inside that mountain somewhere. Every time I go, I feel like I get a spiritual upgrade. Always surprising, always a joy. Heart Center has a mission and a vision statement. I'll read again. The mission within the Heart Center community, we realize personal enlightenment through our higher self and share the Ascended Master teachings and our love wisdom throughout the earth. Our vision is to live in sustainable golden crystal age communities, in joy and in harmony with Mother Nature. Using solar sciences of the Spirit, we radiate light and live and love as one. In Jesus' time, the Essenes were the spiritual community where everybody lived together and practiced their spiritual practices. In India, the Buddha had the Sangha, which is one of the three jewels. And to have a spiritual community, it was such a powerful acceleration of individuals as everyone is working towards the same goal of enlightenment and emanating light, that the multiplication factor of the group accelerated the enlightenment process. And at the time when Buddha was alive, I think I read there was over 1,000 people got enlightened in the Sangha. And what a tremendous effect that had on the planet as a whole in the dark age of that time, to have that many awakened beings living and walking amongst. The fire spread from one person to another. And is still alive today in the Buddhist monasteries and temples, in the Sangha. The Ascended Masters would like to have a spiritual community somewhere here in North America. And so we hold that vision with them and see what will happen as these things come across and get downloaded to all of us. And the Heart Center is one of the Ascended Master activities, not the only one, but definitely I would say we are the tip of the spear, the only one that is actually going out in outreaching and spreading these teachings to the public with the living messenger David Christopher Lewis, and over 5,000 heart streams, which are messages from these various Ascended Masters, cosmic beings, Elohim, that have come through. So that is a little bit about the Heart Center and what we do. And now I'd like to give the microphone to Lori number 2, who we are, not today, so pleased to have here in the temple. Truly a daughter of God, someone who has walked the walk and the talk. Just came from Hawaii with the Aloha spirit. So, since this is July 3rd, and tomorrow is the 4th of July, I would like to say a couple things about my sponsoring master, Saint Germain, who's one of the sponsoring masters of this temple here, who inspired me in whose light the violet flame I see during my meditations as it surrounds me. The 4th of July is our Independence Day, and Saint Germain is the co-creator of this democracy that we have, a democracy and a republic. It's his design, it's his architecture. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and many others were his direct students. And if I can bring you back in time, if you could imagine the earth the way it was, with kings and dictators and rulers and Caesars and czars, where nobody had individual rights. You were the property of the king or dictator or whatever. You had no choice. If the king wanted to go to war, you had to go to war. If the king was a certain religion, you were that religion. You were the property of the king. And that's what they call serfdom. And that's how the world was. And the Ascended Masters knew for mankind to grow and flower in their own divinity, that they would have to have a way, a formation of a system of government that would allow people to find their own way, to express their own inner guidance as they saw fit. Freedom of religion, freedom to form a business as God may have given them a design for a computer or for an airplane or for a car. All these gifts were not being allowed to flower under that system because the corruption, the ego, and the darkness of the kings, queens, Caesars, czars. So Saint Germain, he had seen the God government of the angels, the God government of the higher planes, and he brought that idea to the world in having a representative government where people could choose who they felt was the most spiritually attuned, the most virtuous person, hopefully. And they would vote for that person. It's an open, wide open system. It could go good or bad either way, but the people would choose, and that was the design, and that was the opportunity. And that's what God wanted. People have their own choice of religion, of where to live. And individual rights were held above the government. So it's an architecture that changes, as we get amendments and whatnots, and it's being perfected or defected, depending on how we see it and how it goes, how people vote. But as humanity as a whole, as the people under a democracy grow spiritually, their attunement and sensitivity to these energies of divine virtue, they will start to choose a higher individual as someone to represent them. Not of any one religion, but beyond all that, as we all attune to our own source. So Saint Germain brought this government together. And now there are more democracies around the world. There's only a few dictators. And in the last 40 years, this has been the greatest peace on the planet Earth since I don't know when. Yes, there's been little skirmishes here and there, but democracies do not wage war against other democracies. They negotiate. They talk it out. Dictators are where the trouble lie for God government. So thank you, Saint Germain. And this 4th of July, when we celebrate our freedom from King George of England, and we have America, which really is the new Atlantis. We can all send a sparkler to all the masters and the angels, and there will be fireworks in heaven also, because we've done something here. We've co-created something here with Saint Germain, and we're participating in a design that is going to bring the earth as a whole to a golden age, better than any other golden age that has ever existed on earth. And with that, we will say good night to our broadcast, and thank you for joining us. Thank you, Saint Germain. Thank you, beloved Jesus, for showing up here doing this meditation and inspiring this meditation. Thank you, Mother Mary, and all the divine mothers of heaven that love to visit here and the 3 that are here in person. Good night.